Hi everybody, my name is Patsy Valdez, and I am so happy that you're able to join us. I'm sitting here right now in Mary's room in the Stockton Springs Community Library, and we are going to have quite an adventure today. Did you know that I was a third grade teacher here in the Stockton Springs Elementary School? Oh, I just loved that school. I loved how the students and the faculty and the parents all came together to create such a great community of learning and fun. And we're going to have both learning and fun today. I don't know about you, but I love to read. I also love art and crafty projects, and I love to write. And guess what? We're going to do all three of those events today. Now, wait a minute. Somebody's here with me. Hi, this is Anansi, the spider, and he's my friend. And today, Anansi's going to be quite the star in a book that I'm going to read you about one of his tricks that he plays on his friends. So Anansi, why don't you take a little perch over here and we'll get started. I'll sit in the chair. There we go. All right. So in honor of Anansi today, we are going to make a craft of a movable spider, and it's so easy. Anybody can make it. It's really simple. So here's what the finished product is going to look like. And notice I can move him all around and all over the place. And try not to torture your little brothers and sisters with that, but it's just a really quick, fun project to make. So what are you going to need for this? Well, you're going to need some basic materials. A stapler would be good. If you don't have a stapler, you could use masking tape. You could use Scotch tape. If you're going to use some of the heavier objects to glue onto Anansi, like for his eyes, you might want to use a glue gun, but please check with your folks at home if you plan on doing that, because those can get pretty hot. If you don't have a glue gun, how about a glue stick? That would work too. The other thing you're going to need are a pair of scissors and some kind of marker so that you could dot his eyes if you're not going to use some of the other materials that I'm going to show you. Okay, so what about the materials? You're going to need 2 of these black round circles, and you can cut them any size you want. You can make them as big or small as you want, and this is construction paper. And if you're wondering, well, Miss Baldus, I don't have construction paper at home. Not a problem. What you can do is look around the house, you know? So what if you make an Anansi that's an outer space Anansi? You could use aluminum foil and cut 2 circles. If you want to make a comical or funny Anansi with his body, you could cut out 2 circles from the comics or a newspaper for an educational Anansi. You could use a piece of fur, okay? Or maybe an old coat collar with fur on it, but please check with your folks first before you do any cutting of those kinds of things. So you could use those things for his body. You're going to need to cut 4 skinny legs. I have 2 here. And you're probably saying, Ms. Baldus, 4? What do you mean? This is an arachnid. You need 8 legs for a spider. Well, yeah, you do. And we're going to fold the 4 in half. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. Now, how about for his eyes? You could use all kinds of things. In my finished product, I use googly eyes, right? If you don't have googly eyes, no problem. How about some sticker dots? You could use those. How about scrounging around in the jewelry box? Whoops. Some old fake pearls or other jewelry to make his eyes sparkle. You could use cloves if you want him to smell quite wonderful, and you could poke those right down through the paper. These are whole cloves. If you want to make a noisy Anansi, you could use jingle bells, okay? And if you use these, you probably would need something heavier like the glue gun to really make sure they stuck to the head. And speaking of the head, you need a smaller circle. Now I used a gray, but you could use white or another contrast or the black just so that it really shows up, and that's where you're going to put your eyes. Okay, so you have the two circles. These are your two circles. And notice what I did. I crisscrossed or made an X or a multiplication sign for the first two legs across the center of one of the circles. And I stapled it. You could glue it. The other thing you could do is add on the other legs. Okay, and I keep crisscrossing. Notice that I do that. It's a little hard when I'm holding it. And I'm just going to staple that together. Hopefully, staple. Yep, there we go. Perfect. And now you need something that will help Anansi move. So I used wire. I used a piece of covered wire, but what if you don't have that? No problem. Look around your house. Uncooked spaghetti strands would work beautifully. You could use a stick or twig from outside, and you're going to lay it right across the body. Okay, make sure though that it's not peeking out of the top. See how I'm pulling that down? And I'm going to use a piece of tape, or you could use a glue stick or Scotch tape, whatever you'd like, to hold that into place. And then I'm going to glue on the other circle to the top. Oops, let's get a little more glue on there. It's a hot, sticky day. Okay, like so. And then you're going to put the head on. You can staple that or glue that right on. I think where it's so hot, I'll just do a staple to make sure that it stays. And then you're going to add your eyes. And there's your Anansi spider. So today, let's hear about what Anansi is up to. He is a great joker. He loves to play tricks. And the book that I'm going to read you today is called Anansi and the Moss-Covered Rock. Now, I'm going to need some help from you at home while I'm reading this. Okay, I want you to participate with me. Whenever you hear the phrase, "Isn't that a strange moss-covered rock?" Say that. Say that at home right now. "Isn't that a strange moss-covered rock?" You're going to use a sound word that's in the story. You're going to say, "Kapam!" This is what we call an onomatopoeia. It sounds the way that it's spelled, okay? It's an action word. So I want you to say that every time you hear them utter that phrase, the animals or Anansi in the story. Also, you can do a little walking, okay? There's going to be a phrase that's repeated, walking, walking, walking. I'd like you to do that at home, and that would be great. And the last thing, look closely at the pictures, because there's an animal hiding out in each of the pictures, and that animal is going to be key to teaching Anansi a lesson. Okay, so you ready? Here we go. Anansi and the Moss-Covered Rock, retold by Eric Kimmel, illustrated by Janet Stevens. And I'll be showing you the pictures. Once upon a time, Anansi the spider was walking, walking, walking through the forest when something caught his eye. It was a strange moss-covered rock. "How interesting," Anansi said. "Isn't this a strange moss-covered rock?" You know it's coming, right? Kapam! Everything went black. Down fell Anansi, senseless. An hour later, Anansi woke up. His head was spinning. He wondered what had happened. I was walking along that path when something caught my eye. I stopped and I said, "Isn't this a strange moss-covered rock?" Kapam! Down fell Anansi again, but this time when he woke up an hour later, he knew what was happening. "Aha," said Anansi, "this is a magic rock. And whenever anyone comes along and says those magic words, isn't this a strange Down he goes. "This is a good thing to know," said Anansi, "and I know just how to use it." Oh, look at this. So Anansi went walking, walking, walking through the forest until he came to Lion's house. Lion was sitting on his porch. At his feet was a great pile of yams. Now, I wasn't sure you knew what a yam was, okay? So I brought in this today. This is actually a sweet potato, which is a little different than a yam. It looks somewhat similar in its shape. Yams have orange insides and they're kind of sweet. Sweet potatoes are orange and they're kind of sweet. And yams have sort of darker skin and they're a little whiter inside and they're not as sweet. Not as sweet. But just to give you an idea of what that is. Anansi loved yams, but he was too lazy to dig them up himself. Anansi said to Lion, "Hello, Lion. It is very hot today." It is, isn't it? Yeah. Don't you think so? Yes, Anansi, said Lion. It is terribly hot. I'm going to go for a walk in the cool forest, said Anansi. Would you like to come? I certainly would, said Lion. So Lion and Anansi went walking through the forest. After a while, Anansi led Lion to a certain place. Lion, you see what I see? Oh, yes, Anansi, said Lion. Isn't this a strange covered rock? Kapam! Down fell Lion. Anansi ran back to Lion's house and made off with Lion's yams. An hour later, Lion woke up. His head was spinning. Anansi was nowhere in sight, and when he got home, he found that every single one of his yams was gone. Lion was very sad. But Anansi was happy. He couldn't wait to play his trick again. Once more, Anansi went walking through the forest. This time, he stopped at Elephant's house. Elephant was sitting on his porch. At Elephant's feet was a great pile of bananas. Anansi loved bananas, but he was too lazy to pick them himself. So he said to Elephant, "Hello, Elephant. Isn't it hot today?" "It is," Elephant agreed. "I'm going for a walk in the cool forest," Anansi said. "Would you like to come?" "Well, that sounds rather nice," said Elephant. "Thank you for inviting me, Anansi." So Anansi and Elephant went walking through the forest. After a while, Anansi led Elephant to a certain place. "Elephant, you see what I see?" Elephant looked. "Why, yes I do, Anansi. Isn't this a strange moss-covered rock?" Kapam! Whoops, with some dots. Down fell Elephant. Anansi ran back to Elephant's house and made off with the bananas. An hour later, Elephant woke up. His head was spinning. Anansi was nowhere in sight, and when he got home, he found that every single one of his bananas was gone. Elephant was very, very sad. But Anansi was very happy. He couldn't wait to play his trick again. He played it on rhinoceros and hippopotamus. He played it on giraffe and zebra. He played it on every single animal in the forest. But all this time, watching from behind the leaves, was Little Bush Deer. Did you spot Little Bush Deer? Did you see her? Did you see her hiding? Little Bush Deer is small and shy and very hard to see. She watched Anansi play his wicked trick again and again on all the other animals. Little Bush Deer decided it was time for Anansi to learn a lesson. So Little Bush Deer went deep into the forest to where the coconut trees grew. She climbed a coconut tree and threw down a great many coconuts. She carried the coconuts home in a basket and set them on her porch. Then she sat down beside them to wait. There she is. In a little while, along came Anansi. Anansi's eyes lit up when he saw Little Bush Deer's coconuts. Anansi loved coconuts. He loved to eat the tender white coconut meat and drink the sweet coconut milk inside, but he was much too lazy to gather coconuts himself. Instead he said, "Hello, little bush dear. It is so hot today." Little bush deer smiled. "It is very hot, Anansi. I'm going for a walk in the cool forest. Would you like to come?" "Yes, I would," said little bush deer. So Anansi and little bush deer went walking, walking, walking in the cool forest. After a while, Anansi led little bush deer to a certain place. "Little bush deer, look over here. You see what I see?" Little bush deer knew all about Anansi's trick. She looked. "No, Anansi, I don't see anything." "You must see it. Look carefully." Little bush deer looked. "Nope, still don't see anything." Anansi began to get angry. "You must see it. Look over here. Look right where I'm pointing. You see it now?" "No, Anansi," said little bush deer. Anansi stamped his legs. "Stamp your legs. Stamp your legs. You see it. You just don't want to say it." "Say what?" said little bush deer. "You know." "Is that what I'm supposed to say?" "Yes," said Anansi. "All right, then I will say it to make you happy." "You know," said little bush deer. "There, I said it. Are you satisfied?" "No," Anansi shouted. "You're not supposed to say you know." "Oh, what am I supposed to say?" "You're supposed to say, 'Isn't this a strange moss-covered rock?'" What's gonna happen? Kapam! Down fell Anansi. Little bush deer ran and got all the other animals. Together they went to Anansi's house and took back all the good things he had stolen from. Look at all that. Wow. An hour later, Anansi woke up. His head was spinning. Little bush deer was nowhere in sight. And when he got home, he found his house as empty as it was before. But if you think Anansi learned his lesson, you're mistaken, because he's still playing tricks to this very day. Now, you know, kids, I would love for you to write about a trick, a new trick, that Anansi might play on one of his friends. So if you could write a story and finish it and perhaps bring it by the library, we would love to display it in Mary's room. So how are you going to go about doing that? I'm going to show you a real simple way, and you can look at this again after. If you don't get all of the steps, there's just a couple, but if you don't get them all right away, you can come back and look at this again. But very simply, you're going to start off with your story with a setting. Now the setting is where the story takes place. So I want you to think about that. Where is Anansi? Is he at home? Is he in the jungle? Is he at the supermarket? What is he doing? Is he riding a bumper car? I don't know. But you want to put him in a place, okay? And then tell us about that place. What do you see there? What's all around you? Okay, so that's your setting. The next thing you need to decide on are your characters, the stars of the show. Well, obviously Anansi has to be the main character, but you need at least one more, and I would just start with one, just to make it easy and simple. So pick a friend. It can be an animal friend that's in the jungle, could be a domestic animal, cat, dog, cow, horse. You pick, okay? And of course give your character a name. All right? This is just your planning, okay? This is just the planning. The next step is the plot. Plot is what happens in your story. And there's 3 parts to that, okay? The first part is, what is the problem? What is the trick that Anansi is playing on his friend? You have to come up with something good, okay? He's gonna fool his friend, all right? And eventually, you have to come up with a solution. How does the friend turn the trick around so it backfires on Anansi? Think about that. What could you do? What does the friend do? Just like little bush deer. What did little bush deer do? And of course you have to have an ending. Does Anansi learn his lesson? Does he go back home? Or does he plan another trick? Okay, so I'm going to go over those again just briefly. Setting, characters, the plot, which is what happens. You need a problem. You need a solution. How is it solved? And then you need an ending. What happens at the very end? Now, if you do write a story, I would love it if you would illustrate or draw pictures with it. That would be fantastic. It would make your story come to life. Thank you so much for joining me here today. The Stockton Springs Community Library is going to be hosting these live storybook times. So I hope you will join us again. Keep checking on the Facebook page. Usually they're every month, I believe. But you can share stories and have a great time with us right here. So this is Patsy Baldus saying, please get cool. It's a hot day. See you later. Bye.